two Canadians were recently selected for the Obama Foundation Scholars Program, one of the most prestigious leadership programs in the world that gives exceptional community leaders the opportunity to take their work to the next level. Khaled Hashi and Victoria Kukits were selected for their work in advancing global health equity and building inclusive models for civic engagement. As you can see, they join us live this morning for more on this incredible achievement. Good morning, Khaled and Victoria. Thanks so much for joining us. This is pretty spectacular. I know there's a total of 11 of you, but I mean, only 3 Canadians, and 2 of them are you, were chosen in the history of this program since its inception. Khaled, I'll start with you. You founded, I'm not sure how, is it OGOW Health, after witnessing firsthand the gaps in Somalia's healthcare system. I think you were there with your grandmother, and you saw the fractured system. So what was that moment like when you realized that technology could actually help bridge the gaps that you were seeing there?
So like you said, I first had a first-hand encounter navigating the health systems, meeting my grandmother for the very first time. It would actually be the first grandparent I'd ever had the opportunity to meet, and it was my first time going to my native country, Somalia, where my family and parents are from.
Right.
And of course, when I was there, I noticed that everything was quite analog. There was no continuity of care. And the doctor just asked, why don't you do something about it? Because I was quite frustrated. He was frustrated, and he was doing everything he possibly could under really extreme, difficult circumstances. I spoke out to the diaspora community here in Canada, made some connections with McMaster, an academic institution, of course, leading in global health here in Canada, and local institutions in Somalia, and I was able to bring some teams together to do some remarkable work.
That's incredible. Okay, I want to talk more about that. But Victoria, turning to you, I mean, your work tackles one of the biggest challenges in the world today. We're talking polarization. What inspired you to focus your career on building these bridges between political and divides, in communities?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us here. It's such a pleasure to be able to be here and to represent our country. I actually started out as a grassroots democratic engagement and public community builder in a nonpartisan setting. I was actually working for the Samara Center for Democracy, going into newcomer communities, accessibility communities, Indigenous communities, and people who generally experience barriers both informationally and then in terms of physical access to voting and participation. And it was in those moments that I really wanted to understand what mattered to people, what their barriers were, what their frustrations were, and perhaps why they weren't engaging in civic life.
Yeah.
So I scaled that to actually work in a number of think tanks over the years. And then when the pandemic hit, things felt more polarized than ever.
Yeah.
And I knew that there was something there that we really had to work to understand. So I built a systemic project, going back to community, going to sitting politicians, local journalists, and then a research series as well, really trying to understand the nature of these issues. Now we're at the Obama Foundation, and I actually want to build a project on how we build trust on a hyper-local level.
Yeah, you're kind of switching or evolving your focus.
Yes.
Khaled, what are you most excited about this 10-month-long program? I mean, it really emphasizes advancing global health equity. So how do you plan to use your experience, at Columbia to further your cause and your project?
Yeah, so in our work, we're in this pivotal area of growth. We've, in the last year, expanded our footprint to now supporting over 1,000 facilities in every single federal member state in the country. So there's a lot of opportunities now to further scale to neighboring countries. And part of the Obama Foundation is actually helping us think through how we could have a footprint more globally in countries that could also benefit from our solutions. The greatest part about the program is there's tailored advisory support for each individual. So they really do a great job of pairing you up with advisors, but also we have an opportunity to select and audit a number of courses. I'm taking courses around ethics in AI, global health, managerial negotiations to really strengthen our leadership skills as well as our teams and our footprint continue to grow.
Okay, that sounds like such a rich experience for both of you. Victoria, very quickly, I mean, your work engaged 1,600 youth across 321 Canadian cities. What's surprising you right now about what you're thinking a lot of young Canadians are feeling at this moment?
I think a lot of young Canadians are feeling immense social pressure. And in some of the traditional ways you might think around, what's being said online and how that affects their lives. But it's also what they're not saying, which is really interesting. When we ran these roundtables, we actually heard from young people that they would get called out online when they didn't take positions on things. So they're kind of, not in a great place if they do, and not in a great place if they don't engage either. And so I just think the immense pressure that they're carrying every single day, whether it's around the dinner table having intergenerational conflicts, whether it's online either engaging or watching, and then there's just so much information out there that there's a total sense of overwhelm as well, trying to get the right information and trying to stay engaged, but it's really quite difficult.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Well, you both are doing incredible work, and I'm so proud that both of you got accepted into the Obama Foundation Scholars Program, and I'm sure this is not the last we'll be hearing from you. Victoria, nice to meet you.
Such a pleasure.
Calla, thank you so much for coming in, and enjoy your time at Columbia.
Thank you.